Tonight, the fallout after police attended a Yukon Pride event in uniform. Good evening and welcome to North Beat. I'm Hillary Bird. A Yukon police officer has apologized for wearing his uniform. It happened at a Pride flag-raising event. Philippe Morin joins me to tell us about the controversy, the new policy that police symbols like uniforms are not welcome at Pride. Philippe.
The flag raising happened here on the 31st. It is a different flag this year called the Progress Pride flag. And with that new flag, instead of the rainbow flag, comes a bit of a change in tone. We heard speeches not only about a celebration of inclusion, but also about taking on racial injustice and police brutality. During that speech, two officers stood by the side of the crowd. Now, to my recollection, they did not interact with anyone. They did not interrupt with proceedings in any way. They were there quietly a distance away from the small crowd. But their presence in uniform caused a reaction. A group called Queer Yukon says it was disrespectful. The group maintains that Pride is not a place for police uniforms and symbols. Now, they have sent letters to the commissioner of the RCMP, to the member of parliament from Yukon, saying this was something they oppose. I spoke with Emily Treasure, who is the board president of Queer Yukon. She explains why.
There is a long, violent, discriminatory history of the police in the way they deal with the queer and trans communities, and that's still going on. So we want everyone to feel safe at our events. We know that if there's police there in uniform, some people are not going to feel safe.
Queer Yukon has organized Pride events since 2013. Now, the board voted this year that symbols of police, that would include uniforms, but even things like the RCMP logo, would not be welcome at Pride events. Queer Yukon is not alone in this. Similar motions have been passed in many cities throughout Canada and around the world. In the United States, for instance, Vancouver has such a motion, Toronto, Ottawa, just to name a few. Now, police in Yukon had agreed to these terms, but then the two officers showed up anyway. We asked why. The RCMP forwarded us an email, which was sent from one of the officers to Queer Yukon. Chief Superintendent Scott Shepard says it was an awkward moment. He says the officers were there for another press conference happening in the same building, and then they were asked to attend in the moment the flag-raising ceremony by Yukon's Minister of Justice, who is, in a way, their boss. The chief superintendent says that he obliged in the moment, but he had heard about the policy, and it looks like there was some confusion as to whether this was a Pride event or a public event. He has apologized and said no harm was meant. The minister has apologized, saying she wasn't aware of the policy before inviting the officer. Now, the response from Queer Yukon is asking people to reflect on their decision, and I'll leave you with Emily Treasure talking about that.
They blatantly broke our agreement and came to a Pride event in uniform without our consent. And we just really hope that they're going to reflect on what happened and why it happened in the first place and why we made that decision in the first place.
All right, thanks, Philippe. That's CBC reporter Philippe Morin live in Whitehorse tonight.